Everything's gone back to normal. The Christmas decorations have gone. The tree's gone. Bookshelf is back where it belongs to be, with a load of books on it we never read. Had a day of doing clothes washing. I've uploaded a lot of videos. It's been productive and relaxed at the same time. Talented. I have to go back to work tomorrow, unfortunately. So we have to get rid of all of the jobs we need to do today. We've done shed load of washing, shed load of cleaning, shed load of putting everything away. Everything's back to normal. Let's start the week and the year as we mean to go on, boys. It's going to be 20 minutes early today. I got the bus earlier than the bus I aimed for and 2 buses before the one I normally get. It's also about to start raining, so I've probably timed it pretty well. It's about to hammer it down and it's supposed to be raining all week, so unfortunately it's going to be a lot of busing. Otherwise, I had like the worst sleep I've had in weeks last night because I was literally waking up like every hour. I was having dreams. I kept like lying on my arms funny, so they kept going dead. It was the worst. And literally, Laura's alarm went off like 1 minute before mine because my clock is perpetually slow. Literally just opened my eyes because I was already bloody awake and I'm like, right, let's go. Oh, Mr. Christmas tree, you are not long for this world. Yeah, I slept perfectly last night, so it's not like it's just going back to our bed. I genuinely don't know what that was about. Just having some crazy ass dreams as well, which is always lovely. It's a Tuesday today and that's worth remembering because it's going to feel like a Monday. We're going shopping tonight. I've got to buy lunch today because we haven't been shopping yet and I haven't got any sandwich stuff. So, God, why are there so many birds, man? Baguette shop was closed, so I had to go to Pret and get the same cheddar ploughman. I don't have the bravery to pick something else, you know, because I know this is so good. Day, man. First day back. I had to fix the dev environment, sit and have both testers just launching stuff at me, fix it. They throw another one. I swear, like, they could just give me them all at once, but they just like, I throw them one back and they're like, hey, here's another bug. And I'm like, God damn. I was literally all day, and then at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon I had a demo, because it's the end of the sprint today. Bloody hectic, man. Bloody hectic. It was literally just like, poof. Also, completely forgot my password, and I've had to pick like a different style of password for the new year. I need to get one that's a little bit more like reusable. I'd gone through too many iterations of my old style, which is always a pain in the ass. It wanted me to change the password before I left, but I didn't because I knew I'd have no chance in remembering it when I first got in. Yeah, man, it was a hectic day. But tomorrow everyone should be back in. We've got all the boys back, especially on my team. We've got planning, and also we did shopping tonight as well, which is bizarre. Feels like a Monday. It's not. It's Tuesday. Remember, it's Tuesday. I can't sleep. I've literally been lying in bed for 2 hours. And I'm wide awake. I don't understand. I mean, yeah, I was going to bed early, but 2 hours? I'm going to try and read myself to sleep. I was in there like an absolute log, which is really frustrating. The sooner I get into my sleeping pan, the better, I think. Oh dear, because I'm not cut out for this shit. If I can get to sleep at a relatively normal time tonight, I'm going to wake up at 2 and I'm just going to jump back into my sleeping cycle. Hopefully, I'll be tired enough by the end of the day to fall asleep at 11. If I don't get to sleep until 1 again tomorrow, I can't possibly wake up at 2 and function on for an entire day. That's not how it works. Otherwise though, for the parking ride, it's bloody windy. We've got a storm coming in, and that probably didn't help my sleeping last night, but it's so windy and so rainy and so haily that it's just, like, I'm kind of cautious about parking next to trees. That's how fucking windy it is right now. I mean, there is a tree just there, so I'm not that cautious, obviously. But there also isn't an awful amount of room. Laura says I look tired as well, which isn't good. Went to bed about 11:15, got up at 12:15, read, went to bed again at 1. Don't know when I got to sleep. When I did get to sleep, it was really restless as well, so I don't know what's wrong with me, man. When we first came back to Bristol, that first night, New Year's Eve night, granted, okay, I had a bit of wine, I slept like an absolute brick. It was the best night's sleep I'd had all Christmas. Now, nah-uh. Not sure if you can hear that noise, but I think that's the wind throwing my, like, exhaust around. Like, anyway, the bus is here now, so let's go. It's the wind going up the pipe. Some crazy weather, huh? What? Why is it so windy? Life would be much easier if I lived and worked in the same city. That wind, though. Because this right here is perfect longboard weather. And I could have done at least one leg on the longboard. Obviously, to the park and ride. But in Bristol, it was pissing it down. It was soaking wet. Like there's just like you're wading through water on roads. And here it's dry. I'm not that far away. It literally doesn't look like it's rained for days. This is crazy. God, I need like some kind of better weather predicting system. Maybe I can get like some kind of notification system set up with a couple of different apps that I set to different locations. People like Google aren't accurate enough to predict the weather. It's a general rule of thumb. And then other apps aren't clever enough to realise that I live in two different locations and care about weather in two different places at two different times. You know? The time jump, I think I managed to get to sleep in a relatively quick amount of time. We watched Black Mirror last night and I was feeling a little bit tired, but I think it took me about half an hour to get to sleep. Either way, I'm bullying myself into my sleeping pattern again, which essentially meant wake up at 2 regardless of when I got to sleep. It's been a while since I've done this, but the amount of time between 2 and 5:30 is an insane amount of time. I keep looking at the clock like, oh, it must be time to go to bed now. Not because I'm tired, but because I think enough time has been passed. But no, I basically, what I ended up doing over Christmas was throwing a grenade in so aggressively that I managed to break, well not break stuff, but I had to change things. To introduce my validation mapper, I ended up having to introduce an update to my mediation pipeline. That then had a knock-on effect on the interface there. That's what I'm now struggling with at the moment. The old interface for the validation pipeline supported a different style of response, so it was able to I was able to like new up a response and then cast it out because I was able to make that method generic. However, now on the new validation pipeline pipeline behavior interface, that's not possible, which is mildly irritating. I need to figure out a way around it, and I think I'm going to have to just throw a custom exception instead, which isn't great. Doesn't necessarily help me all that much. Well, it does a little bit. But then I'd want to look into potentially some kind of global exception handler to be able to turn that into something legitimate, so I don't have to copy that code basically everywhere. I want to litter try-catchers in my controllers if I can avoid it. So I'm going to have a look into that, but I'm going to think about different ways of solving it. Otherwise though, I got to the point where because I've been solving the way that I can return references to objects in a service fabric environment. So I've got this nice like standardized way where a microservice will return a reference in a certain way, and then in theory the API gateway will be able to resolve that if it's required to, or a GraphQL server will be able to resolve everything that it needs to, so it'll be able to go, oh, okay, that came from this microservice, that means I need to go to one of these microservices over here, cool, that's the same type, this was the path it used, bam, cool, this is the IDs I need, bang, in. That change, it was one of those changes that was kind of like a grenade throw, and I've been on my laptop for ages and I've been trying to like get it to the point where I can transfer it to my desktop, and I finally got there. So we're all happy with that. Yeah, so anyway, that's that. That's the joy that I'm going through at the moment. Otherwise, we had a good day at planning today. I don't know if I said this, but my New Year's resolution is to do smaller stories. What we were basically doing was big stories, which would take a while to do. The testers would be relatively bored, and then we'd end up passing it over and it would take forever to go through the test just because of the size and the number of things that need testing. Smaller stories means that you can basically get the thread in, get the golden thread in, and then iterate on top of it instead of blocking all development until that's done. So we had planning today, and it's the first time we put that into practice. We had one story which we split into an epic, well, we turned into an epic and then converted into 4 different stories, 3 of which we're going to be put into this this iteration, and then we have 3 filler stories. So I was doing a filler story while we're starting on the big one, and then what we're basically going to do is whenever test becomes free, because there's 2 teams deploying to it, whenever test becomes free to deploy to, we'll have one of these fluff filler stories which we can just throw in and keep the testers busy while we're like building up this first story. And then really the only thing that's like fully sequential is that first story. That will then unlock the next 2. So I think that's going to work out really well. I'm like trying it out. We're going to see, we'll have a look at the next retrospective and all that kind of good stuff. Otherwise it's hard to talk to you on the way home because I get the bus back with someone. It was also dry all friggin' day, by the way, and it's not now, so no longboarding today. I missed my chance to longboard yesterday. Also, what else? Laura went netball, and I've been working on this stuff. I was doing a load last night, and now this morning I need to go and have a nap there. So. Turns out, not sleeping properly at night is actually quite a good springboard into this sleeping pattern, because while I haven't like napped properly, I've napped way better than I normally do when I first transition into sleep cycles, so that's good. Just waiting for Laura to come back so we can cook some dinner, and then we're done for the day. We had a good day today. I'm sick of mappers, but I had a pretty good day today, productivity wise. Sorting out some stuff at work as we do. This bit is always the worst part of like transitioning into this sleep thing. The only thing stopping me from falling back asleep now is just pure willpower. Every single like little part of me wants to go back to bed, except my brain, and it's like, no, Jimmy, you have to fight through this. The pain, it's tough, but it's worth it. I think it's being made worse by how I haven't slept recently up until the run into it, so I'm actually not hitting it like I'm hitting it tired, let alone like letting it tire me out, you know. But anyway, just got up. It is 10 minutes past 2, and we've got some programming to do, man. I took the plunge. I think it's dry enough today. It's a little bit wet in places, but I just slowed down over those bits. Got my lights on low mode, saving the battery for the way home. Just cruising along the river, which does look quite like it's close to flooding in places. No entry, flood risk. See what I mean? Like, see how close it is to that edge of that? Right, turn around. You guessed it, boys. Oh, that's a lot better in IRL than it is on the camera. FYI, I can see quite a good distance with these boys. This is so good. It's so good. The red one is way brighter than the white one, or at least it seems to be. What is weird is because it's like kind of dark and then it's light, like because it's such a shaped light, it feels like you're smiling, because it feels like you can see your cheeks. You know what I mean? When you're like, if you got that, you know, you can't see this bit, and that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm longboarding along, like. But, yeah. Otherwise, pretty freaking good day today. We finished off 2 user stories, which is good. Got them rebased as well. Got them literally ready to rock and roll. We've got 1 in test at the moment. Some bugs have bounced back. One of the validation rules seems to have slipped, because it's one of them things that we've like half validated because the validation's moved to a different story, and because we've half validated it, it's breaking validation elsewhere, which is a problem. But a problem we should fix because it's technically a regression. Otherwise, I haven't napped very well today. I feel very tired, and I think a significant amount of willpower is going to be required this morning. And what am I doing? Oh, I've got computer problems as well, which isn't helping things. Anyway, we'll fix that in the morning. I predicted that happening. I slept through both the alarm at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And I've decided that today is going to be best spent gutting this room, making room for stuff. I need to figure out a solution for the longboard that isn't on its box, because it's too big. Like, there's not enough floor space. I was hoping I could lie it on here and it would like, the wheels would go either side of this, but no. So yeah, either way, I'm like chucking out a load of empty boxes. Why do I keep empty boxes? I don't know. Empty shoe boxes going. Hopefully I can find my guitar stand, and then we can see that. Otherwise, I'm going through things here, like my Further Maths 2 work from fucking, oh there you go, Mr. Shenton. For Further Maths. Look at this trash. Do we need this? Why am I keeping this? That's like, I think the majority of my maths. There might be another one, which is all gone. I just discovered these 2, which is my chess. So those of you who've been around a long time know that I did chess for A-level computing, and this right here is all of the report I did on it, which is madness. I wrote a blog post about that, but yeah, it's pretty tasty. Damn, this is trash, look. So this is square 1-3, click. You've got the sender as an object, and you've got the arguments, handles a click operation. And then if the current piece is bang, Then you want to do all of this. We call set the original colours. You've then got like, if it's null, then you want to do this. You can only select squares that have pieces on it. And all of this code is just in all of the buttons. Look at this insanity. So move other piece. This function is called whenever the player selects a new piece to move. Its job is to decide exactly where queens, castles, bishops and horses can move to. It is otherwise used to check the thing. So we'll go call move in check. Are you allowed to are you allowed to move in check? I think that one does. If move is possible equals true. Nice one, Jamie. Limited movement equals false. If check equals false, then 4, 4, 4, bang. Draw all of these checked boxes, and let's do all of this description here to explain and walk through like what happens. This algorithm. This was the most fun. This is like one of the things I'm most proud about. Move king. So the algorithm for checking if you can move a king. God damn. So, God, what the fuck is this? Oh, it's done on the length of the current piece. What? If check equals false, then you can do this, and it will check around and then figure out if there's a piece in the place and if it can move there and if it needs to colour the board a different colour. God damn, and it's just like 5 different if statements for all the different directions. Jesus. This is trash code. But there was just so much of it. I mean, I haven't even got to the check algorithms. The check algorithms are literally just like, so it was all in VB, so it's all in the buttons themselves. You click the button and then it just calls a number of functions. And it would just like race up and down the board on this grid and figure out if what was in all of the squares and figure out, damn, I can't throw this away, this is magic. Here we go, boys. Whew. Keeping that temporarily, because we are ordering 2 more plates. Got some new plates for Christmas, and they're only like a set of 4. We thought 4 would be enough, but we think we need like an extra 2 plates of both sizes. Until then, keeping the old ones in that box. All of the stuff that was there is no longer there, and it's like behind there. The longboard is resting on these wheels here, and then it's got a brick at the bottom. The math brick isn't actually necessary, but it's the Maverick pet brick. Make sure it doesn't roll away. I'm not sure this will work if I change the wheels, but it'll work for now. And then just had a big spruce. I'm feeling lighter, like a 2 stone lighter. This is something I have a lot of problem with. It's early in the morning, by the way. It's kind of like scattiness. I get distracted quite easily. I'm not like reading Twitter or going on Facebook or anything like that. When I'm like in the zone of programming, I find it difficult to like focus in and like hone on something. This year I need to just dive into this code. I need to just fucking do it, basically. It gets to the 8 o'clock in the morning because I just need to do it. This is the year. But I keep getting distracted by things that I want to do instead. So my validation mapper, for example. I currently want to spend a load of time figuring out how to do integration tests to the point where I can spin automated regression tests on each of my microservices in isolation. And not even my microservices, actually like the applications within those microservices. So like the message bus, the API, all of that kind of stuff. I want to build the automated test suite for that, so that I'm able to just run that, and then I'll be like, right, cool, everything's working, happy birthday, and I don't have to like manually step through it all and manually test it. I keep getting distracted by that, and it makes me not want to do actually like building like actual features, and that's a problem, because one of them actually adds value, one of them doesn't necessarily add value, but I'm justifying the adding the value because as the project gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's going to be harder for me to test everything, it's going to be harder for me to continuously regression things, and it's going to be really easy for something to break I may not notice. For example, like when I was trying to get it running on my laptop, it's not populating the party ID. When I recreate an account, the party ID is missing. It seems to be like sending the messages back and forth, but it doesn't actually write it to the database. Why? Don't know. I've just like raised a bug and put it onto my like Asana backlog thing. If I had these automated regression tests, then I'd have that. But I want tests. I don't just want like dumb integration tests. I want to literally like spin up a new message queue, put a message on the bus, watch it handle it, clean it all up after myself, which is tedious because then it means I've got to figure out how to inject a different queue, how to spin up a microservice from code and all this kind of malark. So I really want to do that, like I really want to spend time doing that, but I'm also like, is it important now? I'm currently spending a load of time adding in What I want to do is do that in a separate branch, but that kind of infers that I need to have finished what I'm currently doing in order to do that, you know? Maybe like the current thing I'm doing, which is like storing like code source configurations, as soon as that's done, maybe I spin that into a separate branch and then work on it on my laptop when I'm like just fannying around, and then like do the rest of the work on Atlas, and then like kind of drive forward and have like 2 work streams, one for kind of more casual work and one for more focused. I don't know. It's really hard when it's this early in the morning. I'm like running these kind of thoughts in my head. I need someone to talk to. It's the afternoon. Laura's headed out for a run. She'll actually be back soon, actually. And I've just kind of sent myself into a bit of a tailspin because I've kind of realised that what I've just done is build like a portion of code which would infer that you would have different types of like. It's possible. It would infer that it's possible to have multiple credentials for a single. Like web source, code source. So it's like you'd almost have like OAuth 2 and something else, which is weird. So I've just kind of like, I've just had a question, just being like spinning around like, what the fuck was I playing at? But I've realised what I've been playing at, and what I've basically done is I'm referencing it wrong. Like the idea was, what I was aiming for, was the ability to offer an API that doesn't always give you all of the information. So it would only give you the information that you ask for, instead of all of it, because I'm going to put query GraphQL in front of it. I made the mistake then of nesting this object. Well, it's not actually a problem that it's nested, but I've made a mistake of assuming that that would then need its own ID, but then having its own ID would infer that it's possible to have different ones, because otherwise why do they have an ID if it's just a field on an object? So that inference just like freaking sent me out, and I'm like, step away, you're confusing yourself. I've now figured it out again, I know what I'm doing. All I need to do is change the reference thing. So instead of having a different ID, all it is a different URL. And then that way you don't have to query for because obviously I want to hide you might have different user permissions to see the credential information than you would the repo information, that kind of shit, you know? One user is able to see the repo and everything in it, but isn't allowed to see the information required to log into that repo. So that's the plan there. And yeah, like I say, I thought that meant that I'd have to give it a unique ID, and then I'm like doing the thing to add it. I'm like, I want to check if one's already there, but that means I need its ID. Or I could do it without its ID, then I'm like, why the fuck have I got its ID? So, that's fun. I had a right lazy morning this morning because I got up at 2, well, if you can count this as lazy, got up at 2, went to sleep at 5:30, got up at 6, took me a while to get out of bed, like I lay in bed for a bit, because there's nothing driving me out of bed, and I'm like, oh, it's nice and warm here. It's like, Laura's there, it's nice and warm. If I get out, I'm going to be cold. But anyway, got up. Did a load of work before Laura got up at about 9ish. We then had like breakfast and stuff, went to do a little bit more work, and then I had my afternoon nap. Then I had a shower and got dressed, and just done a little bit more programming. So it's been great. I've just got some ironing to do, and I believe all my jobs are done for today. I've done 7 hours of programming so far today. I'm happy with that, I think. Oh, I'll come back to you in the morning, tidy up the fact that your IDs aren't needed, and we're actually just going to use the ID of the provider instead of having 2 IDs, which is ridiculous. All that through, otherwise I then just need to do the getter. So it's going quite quick. I'm doing a lot. It should only be a minor change. I should just be able to be honest with you, rename it, and it will just go straight through. Because at the moment, actually I don't even use it. It's just the reference object, the service fabric reference object, and the names basically that will fix it. Shouldn't be too bad. Should not be too bad. Right, Laura's back. I'm going to end my video today, by the way. So I will probably end it now. Nothing exciting is going to happen. We're going to have some dinner, some fried chicken. It's going to be delish. I'm going to do the whites, the ironing of the whites, which I might do now, because I may as well. And yeah, otherwise I'll start out this video. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you later.